Hey guys, it's Andrew, or Feel No Pain, and this is going to be me kind of live commentating, not me doing anything, just showing you kind of the final build for my Demon Hunter. The lesser half of Wifflemuffin. I've been playing a bunch on my own, just kind of in my spare time. And as you can see there, I just defeated a Greater Rift 33, which I'm going to put the run-through of in the video at the end of this. So you can see how this works, like, in action. But for right now, I just kind of wanted to show my skills and my everything. I currently am Paragon level 387. That does help, having this movement speed, not having to worry about it being from items and extra dexterity and attack speed and crit damage and life and resist all. This stuff helps, definitely allowing me to get higher up easier. As you can see, I have resource cost reduction because I'm using Cluster Arrow. This is the same build I think I was using before. In the last video with this character, I think I had 4 pieces of the Marauder set, and I was using Sentries and Cluster Arrow, and the one thing that's different is I was actually using, where is it? Okay, yeah, I was actually using Elemental Arrow, Frost Arrow, because I had a bow that made it generate hatred instead of depleting it, which was cool. But I actually found a new setup. This is because 2.2.0 came out just today, and this actually, I've got a new setup that's working ridiculously well. So I have Evasive Fire for increased hatred generation, and this will work if you want to build a Demon Hunter. This is a great way to do it. I still have Sentries. Okay, Cluster Arrow with the cold. I still have Cluster Arrow that explodes 5 rockets at nearby enemies for 450% damage each. You gain life per hit, although when you're doing anything above like rank 35, really, it doesn't matter. You pretty much keep your distance, or you get one shot by everything. I guess if you get nicked by something like lightning, what is it, thunderstorm, or one of the like elite affixes that does damage from a distance. If you get nicked by that, or nicked by a mortar, and then you can use that to heal up, that helps. Sentries, cold. This is, you can obviously do this with you can do Sentries. Actually, no, this has to be, but Cluster Arrow, you can use something other than Maelstrom if you want. You can. A lot of people like to use what is it? Loaded for Bear, because it does more damage, but it doesn't have the rockets, and it's fire, and this is a cold build. So there's other ways you can do this, but this is the one I like. So I've got those 3. Those are my cold damage dealers, and I've got plus cold damage on my items. Vault, you have to just get away sometimes with Tumble, because double vaulting and the second one costing half as much is great. Lets you do it more often, which you'll need to in the higher rift levels. And then Preparation, but not the typical one. This one restores hatred, because you're going to be using a lot of that Cluster Arrow. That's your damage, and you really want to burst things down. And I did a rank 42 rift, which is getting up there. Over 40 is getting to the sort of insane, you get one shot by trash mob sort of level. It didn't go well. I didn't record it because I didn't know how it would go, and I died 19 times and didn't complete it in the time limit. So I didn't actually get credit for that on the leaderboards. The highest rift I've completed in the time limit was 39, and that was difficult. I died 2 or 3 times on that one. But today I thought I'd show you a 33. It's still high-level stuff. It's still stuff with a ton of health, and you kind of get to see just how the damage works out. And then Companion, doesn't really matter. I put Wolf Companion on. I don't know why. I don't think it matters, because the Marauder set actually gives you all the companions as long as you have it on, so the rune doesn't matter. And then passives. This one is literally a lifesaver. Once every 60 seconds, basically, if you are going to die, you instead you vanish, which makes you invulnerable for 2 seconds, and you regenerate 50% of your maximum life. Obviously, you still get one shot on the higher rifts, but you get to, that's kind of like your automatic oh shit button. You don't have to think about it. If you get caught in Arcane Sentry, or you get caught in a thunderstorm, or you get, you know, blindsided, there's so much going on, you don't see one of the little, like, what is it, the little frost balls coming at you that, like, pulses. Yeah, all those things, or, you know, variety of stuff. Once a minute you basically get to not die when, you know, stuff happens. And stuff does happen. Ballistics, increased damage of rockets. You have a 20% to fire homing rocket. Obviously, this is for the rockets damage, because cluster arrow fires 5 rockets. This stuff all just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. The damage of, like, you get 450% weapon damage is cold for the rockets, plus 100% damage, plus with the Marauder set is plus 100% damage per turret, and you can have a total of 5 turrets out, which is kind of insane, because this allows you to have 2, and then you can have 2 additional ones from this quiver right here, which is almost necessary for this to work. And I, for the life of me, cannot remember where the 3rd extra one comes from. But yeah, there's a 3rd extra one. You actually, so you get a total of, yeah, total of 5 turrets. I'll figure that one out in a second. Oh, there it is. Custom engineering. Increase the duration of caltrops marked for death by trap and sentry. That makes sentries last a minute, which is good enough. Even at high level stuff, though, when you get rift bosses with like 40 billion health, it's gonna take you a while, so you will have to redrop the sentries. But basically, it's one of those things that stuff's clustered together enough that if you drop a sentry every time it's available, which is every 8 seconds, I believe. Yeah, 8 seconds. You'll be fine. You'll always have 5 out. And even if your 5 aren't on the screen, as long as they're in the area you're in, it still counts towards the damage, so you don't need 5 constantly hitting, like, smaller things. So yeah, increase the maximum number in charges of sentries to 3, then plus the 2 from the quivers, 5. So that's an extra 500% damage on top of everything else. Cold a weak, increased damage against slowed or chilled enemies by 20%. Makes sense. Everything does cold. This seemed to work better when I had Frost Arrow on primary, and just things seem to be slowed more often. But it still works. Still works extremely well. You just drop your sentries, which have like a slowing effect around them, and you drop them on an enemy, and it's an extra 20% damage for nothing. So if you look at it, you've got this is your main damage with 450% weapon damage. Double that with this, times 5 for all the sentries you've got out. And then here's the kicker. And these rings just got buffed. This is the 2.2 buff. Focus and Restraint are 2 set rings that it used to be that the set bonus was when you're at full resource, the next resource spender you use does 50% extra damage. That sounds nice, but being at full resource is a commodity that especially demon hunters don't have. Monks could do it a little easier. You use an ability, you hit a couple times with your primary, you're back at full. But this, demon hunters are so squishy, and you have to spam this. You're not at full hatred a whole lot. So they changed it for whatever reason, where now there's 2 set bonuses when you have both. When you hit with a resource generating attack or primary skill, deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds, and when you hit with a resource spending attack, deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds. Now you already have all these things adding on top of each other to make your damage super high. This is crazy, because these abilities actually stack. And what happens is you'll see it in the video here in a minute. What happens is you use your evasive fire, and that activates the first part. You use a primary skill, 50% increased damage, for 5 seconds, which is plenty of time to fire off a couple cluster arrows, which cost hatred, so they add the second buff, which is absolutely insane. That basically means you're getting 100% increased damage, and all you do is you just alternate back and forth. What I found works to keep your hatred pretty stable: 2 evasive fires, then a cluster arrow. 2 evasive fires and a cluster arrow. Now, if there's something you need to burn through, you do 1 evasive fire, and in the next 5 seconds, you spam cluster arrows. You use your cooldowns to regain hatred. You know, evasive fire again if you need to in the middle of that, just to redo the buff, that side of the buff. But as you can see, I've got a high damage crossbow. Not the highest you can get by any means, but a pretty high damage crossbow, an ancient legendary. Rolled pretty well on the lightning damage. I'm still trying to get that to 10% damage re-rolled. Dexterity, socket, and critical damage. Pretty standard stuff. And then the Bombardier's Rucksack, I've only gotten 1 of these. I've gotten so many other ones, and I've tried with Kadala forever. I want that attack speed to be 20. That's the max. That can go up to 20. Crit chance can go up to 10. If that doesn't hit 10, I'm not too worried, but that extra 5% attack speed would help. Dex and Vitality is pretty low. It was a pretty bad roll on that, actually. But that's okay. I've got the entire Marauder set, and the thing is now, I was using the Ring of Royal Grandeur, which I still have somewhere. Yeah, so yeah, I have what I was using. I was using Frostburn for extra cold damage, but this setup is way better. Ring of Royal Grandeur lets you be missing one of the pieces of the set and still get the 6-piece bonus. Instead, I found the gloves. They're not great. They're good. I mean, it's the trifecta. It's attack speed, crit damage, crit chance. So, I mean, it's good, but I would still rather use, like, the Frostburn in this if it wasn't for the combo, just because the Frostburn has that cold damage plus better, better crit chance. And actually, I did roll perfect crit damage on this first try. It was dumb. But I have the 6-piece all in place. I'm using the Blackthorn's amulet for no good reason other than it rolled ancient with pretty decent stats. So I'll take that. Now I don't have a 3rd socket on my rings, so I can't put in the Bane of the Powerful, gain increased damage for so many seconds after killing an elite pack, and a damage against elites by 15%. I have all these leveled up to the point where they get their secondary ability too, the gems. That kind of hurts, but an extra 100% from flip-flopping these is way better. And I count this as 15% extra versus elites. The 20% increased damage, you can't guarantee that that's going to be active when you're going up against a pack of elites that you need it for. So I don't count that as like losing that damage. But I'm losing 15% by not having that, but gaining pretty much 100% once you get it all ramped up and going. And I still have these. The Stone of Vengeance, which is now ranked 35, so extra 28% damage at 50 yards range, extra, where is it? Extra 25% damage under the effects of control impairing effects, cold, any chill effect will do this. Those are the 2 I kept. I also found an Ancient Witching Hour, which I'd been looking for a long time. Dexterity, attack speed, life was kind of whatever. Actually, believe I found it on a different character on my wizard somehow, and it rolled intelligence, I believe. So I just re-rolled dexterity, and it's got crit damage, which is nice. It's got that attack speed. Yeah, everything else is Marauders pieces. Mostly went for, you know, crit and all that stuff, and I've got some life regen on a bunch of things, some reduced resource costs. This one you want to make. You can actually make this. This is craftable with cold damage, obviously, for this build. Cold, crit, dexterity, vitality is good. Or you could do like dexterity, resist to all if you don't need the vitality, but you probably will. Mine's really low, as you can see. Health globes restore 27% of your primary resource. That is huge because the biggest thing I use it for is in the high 30s rifts, I can burn down the little ads from an elite pack, the yellow guy, and then his little minions that have less health, I can burn down those pretty quick, like with a full burn, just using all my abilities and just spamming Cluster Arrow with Preparation and Companion. And they all drop health globes, so you just basically, you can vault in, grab all those, vault back out, and you're at full hatred again, which gives you a little more firepower to lay into the elite before he starts doing crazy stuff like Arcane and Thunderstorm. Thunderstorm is honestly like my kryptonite. It kind of is for this build anyway, but if you look here, Thunder or Lightning is like my lowest resistance, or tied with Poison and Physical for my lowest resistances. Physical is not a huge deal. Desecrator is the only thing, and you're not going to be getting hit by a lot of stuff like in the face. Poison, there is that one poison thing that's kind of a pain, and the little snakes that shoot the poison arrows suck, and the boss, the Rift boss that does, kind of sucks. But armor's good. Armor's almost at 14k, 80%. Cold being that high is good. Frozen is a thing, and so is that Frost Pulse, and that Frost Pulse is bitch. Fire resistance, it's okay. It's good against mortar. Mortars, if they direct hit you, they're still pretty much gonna like one-shot you. I'm pretty sure at that level 42 Rift I got direct hit by a mortar for 950,000 damage, with 650,000 health, so one shot. Arcane Holy, that's good, but Arcane Sentries will still own you. This stuff really kind of doesn't matter. I mean, you need to have it, but I'd like to have my Lightning higher because Thunderstorm wrecks the hell out of me. I was getting two-shot by it in that level 42 Rift, and basically if after the first one hits, you get like no warning. So after the first one hits, if you don't vault out before the second shot hits, which is maybe half a second later, you're done. Right now my cold damage and cluster damage increases are kind of low. I do need to eventually get an amulet that has cold increase, maybe instead of the dexterity. 20% cold over 800 dexterity is definitely a thing. Yeah, that's probably the way to go. So, I mean, there's still some building I can do. My attack speed's pretty high. Crit chance is pretty high. I've got a good bit of life per second. That actually helps a bunch, because if you have to run from things because you get knocked out and you're about to die and you want to just recover, this helps a good bit. This lets you survive a little easier. I don't know what these are doing here. Some hatred cost reduction, that's really nice. Most of that's from my Paragon. That's the thing that will help you spam your Cluster Arrow for longer. I mean, 17% off 40. You're looking at like 33 per shot, which, including natural regeneration, basically lets you fire off 4 of those instead of 3. 3.1 for a full hatred burn, which is an extra, few hundred million damage, and that makes all the difference sometimes. So these things all in combination are working pretty well. I do not have the best build ever. I do want to show you something really quick, if I can remember where it is. There it is. Leaderboards. Solo Demon Hunter, 53. Rank 53 is the number one. Tier 39. I mean, even if you go to number 1,000, people have made it into 44s and all that stuff. So, I'm not even on the top 1,000. I'm not trying to say that this build is finished or it's the best, or I'm really just curious about this because technically you should be using Unity here. Unity Ring with your follower, with the follower cannot die relic, which he has on, which is good. That means he doesn't die, so he can keep throwing these heals when I need him. But Unity would cut your damage in half, which is kind of big. And it's at this point that's sort of like, do I use the Unity and cut my damage in half, or do I use this and double my damage? Right now, doubling my damage is allowing me to get right around a 40. And maybe if I redo my gear a little bit, focus a little more on some things like resists and stuff like that, maybe I'll be able to survive without a Unity, but it's tough. It's really tough. Anyway, I thought I'd show you guys that, and I'm pretty sure that's everything. I showed you my Paragon, I showed you my skills, I showed you my gear. This is kind of where I'm leaving this character. I'm probably going to mess around, but I don't have time to grind hundreds of hours for those few pieces that'll be upgrades or whatever, or get everything to be an ancient legendary piece. As it is, I have, what, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ancient legendary pieces out of, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13. So to get all of those, the exact right items as ancient legendaries, would be just an undertaking. I can't. It would probably take 300 to 500 hours. And it may happen one day, and I may update this a year from now if build's still viable and I've made it better. But for now, I mean, I can one-shot tier 6, like, elite packs. That sucker ends up, the rockets from that end up doing like 400 million damage. So I'm going to call this a completion. I mean, I know it's not, and I know I can always do better. And I know I can always, you know, make the character stronger and stuff. But I'm going to just, whenever I play Diablo from here, I'm just going to sort of mess with other characters and see what I can do. As you can tell, I kind of cheated the system and got over 1 billion gold. It's another thing. If you ever want to do that, Boon of the Hoarder, put that in something, gold wrap, or that bastard, and do T6 all day. This makes just about everything drop gold, which is spectacular. And this makes you gain armor for 5 seconds equal to the gold picked up. I have legitimately had my toughness in the 4 billion range from having so much armor. I think my armor's been in the, like, millions, like well into the millions, like 4 or 5 million, and the damage reduction was like 99.92%. And it's literally to the point that on Torment 6, it doesn't, I don't think it would matter if you were wearing like nothing else. If you were completely naked, if you could somehow, well, you couldn't get the gold to drop naked, but if like you can stand in the middle of everything and not take a lick of damage, you'll take like 20 damage from the arcane sentries. It's insane. So, yeah, what I was doing was Flawless Royal Topaz for Magic Find and the Helm, Gold Wrap for the gold pickup, armor gain, and Boon of the Hoarder as one of my sockets, because you don't need super DPS if you're invincible, basically, most of the time. I did that for, like, 3 days and got over 1 billion gold. As you can see, I have the high-end gems now. I could afford them. And, all this stuff. So yeah, that's basically the character. That's my Wigglemuffin or Wifflemuffin, whatever you want to call her. It's basically her. I'm gonna cut to the gameplay so you guys can watch this. I know this has been a little long, but this is probably going to be the last video I ever do. And since the whole Wifflemuffin thing was a thing, and there were a few videos on that, I figured I could at least show you my end of this, going full bore and kind of at the end game, or at least what I'm considering the end game for me, since I don't have a ton of time to play. So yeah, off to the gameplay. And I do get a power pylon, spoiler alert, I do get a power pylon in there, so look for, I saw one, but look for a crit of 1 billion damage, because that actually happened. It was like 1.11 billion damage. It's absolutely insane. I don't know if there's another class that can currently do this kind of burst damage right now. Maybe with the 2.2 update, because they did put a lot of stuff in there. But anyway, guys, watch, enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Enemies eliminated.
Survive that!
Always wanted to fight someone.
built.